The FUBU Radio. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Welcome to another episode of Kizo's Corner. I've been going for a minute, but this lovely young lady has brought me back, and I'm happy that this is my first interview in a minute. But I have someone here who I want to introduce y'all to. But let me just tell you a little something about her because she has a book out right now, and it's really dope. I actually just bought my copy, so make sure I get mine before the drop date. So today I have with me the talented Leslie Short. Now, let me tell you a little something about Leslie. All right. I'm going to read her little bio first, and then I'm going to tell y'all about Leslie Short. Leslie has never played by the rules or stayed in boxes others tried to put her in. At 7, she declared herself too sophisticated for New Jersey. Years later, she danced her way across Europe, built Japan's first male revue show, helped transform FUBU into a global brand, yes, and carved out a place as a chaplain, speaker, and a cultural strategist. Among other things, she left a few out, but we'll touch on that. From ballet studios to boardrooms, cruise ships to corporate America, Leslie's journey is as unconventional as it is inspiring. With humor and fearless candor, she shares the realities of racism, sexism, and the courage that it takes to step into spaces where no one expected her to be. More than a memoir of first, someone has to be the first is a call to action, a reminder that success isn't just about opening doors, but about keeping them open. Others can follow. Welcome to Kizo's Corner, Miss Leslie Short. Appreciate you pulling
Thank
up
you.
on me. Now,
Abs-
we go back long, long, long time.
Oh,
Now, I told you guys about Leslie Short in numerous interviews I've done. She's basically a woman who she's like my big sister, but she kind of raised me and taught me how to do things properly. And I always tell you guys to be on time is to be late, and to be early is to be on time, right? I get that from Miss Leslie Short. But let's jump right into it. Les, you got a book coming out. I know you want to talk about a few things. What's going on?
no, I'm excited. Everyone's always asked me, when are you going to write your story? When are you going to write your story? It's not conventional. And to me, it wasn't that it was not conventional, it was just my life.
Right.
And I've been really blessed to do some amazing things
Hmm.
and be in places where people did not want me to be or expect me to be. And I just figured I'm on the closer side of the end than the beginning. And the
Hmm.
opportunity, again, when opportunities come, you have to figure out, is it for you? And I was able, my first book, I had an amazing publisher. And when this publisher approached me, I was a little leery at first. It's been great working with them. And I just thought it was time to share, especially the way the world is now. There's more than one way to figure out how to get in the door, stay in the door, and know when it's time to leave as
Right.
well. But don't leave it so that no one else can enter in.
Hmm. No, that's great. Um, I remember first meeting you. We did a event with Macy's, and you were the event coordinator, and you turned this dark space into this wonderful, vision that engulfed the FUBU brand with LL Cool J, with Macy's, and you put it all together. And I remember going back to Damon asked me how was the event, how was everything, with the event. And I said, it was good. There was a lady over there named Leslie Short, and she knows her stuff, man. I said, we need somebody like that over here. And then he was like, yeah, you think so? I was like, yeah, we need that. I mean, if we had her, things would be so different because we didn't have anybody like you back then. And he said, see what she say, make her offer, invite her to, let's sit her down and interview her. So I went back and I said, Les, would you mind working for you? Would you want to come work for us? He was like, make me an offer. I was like, really? I said, okay. Went back and told Damon, and he set up the meeting, and you came over and you was with us. You've been with us ever since. I mean, you're not with us now, but you're still with us because we still family. But that was
Yeah.
my first time working with you. And then over the years, just how you conducted business, how you put us in a mind frame of professionalism. And I want to thank you for that because we were so gutter and so hood back then. Like you really, you really like just molded us. You took us and you molded us and you shaped us and you gave us what you had and what you knew and how you did things and it really helped us out tremendously. So I just want to thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. I didn't look at it as gutter or hood. I honestly didn't. I looked at it as four young black men that are really starting to shape something that they created. And I know that my talent was being able to help mold it and build it. And I could only do what I did when you all allowed me to do that. And we had many a beefs, we know, new girl trying to change us. But when I sat down and I explained it and you saw it wasn't that I wanted to change you, but I wanted to make sure that you all were in a position of power when you walked in about your brand and not someone else's perception of the
Yeah,
brand.
no, for
You
real.
all allowed me to be who I am through
Hmm.
all the madness. And I always respected that you all
Yeah,
didn't try to change me either.
yeah. No, you. Like I said, you you made the world respect us from the inside out, and by when I say that, I mean you taught us things, and you preached things that we didn't initially see in the beginning, but you was like, I remember you saying it so vividly. She was like, you guys are going to be on time. You're not going to be like these other celebrities who are always late to everything. And trust me, by being on time, you're going to be respected. And as we started to go out and be on time and be in these places early, we started noticing that people will respect. They was like, oh man, you guys are professional. You guys are on time. And then once they saw that we respected their time, we would treat it just so differently. So that's kudos to you. But tell us, I know you wrote your first book, but this is your second book, and this is a memoir. Tell us about a little bit more about, your memoir.
Well, as you mentioned and as you know, I started as a classical ballet dancer, and that
Right,
was my first career. And I was chosen at the age of 7, but I was also told, we're going to take you to this audition, but don't get excited because they don't usually choose little black girls to train.
right.
And I ended up being through auditions, being one of 3 that was chosen to train.
Hmm.
And I knew I wanted to dance and I wanted to dance ballet through all the people telling me to go dance to the Harlem and Alvin Ailey, amazing companies, but they weren't
Hmm.
ballet companies,
Right,
and I would show up and if there was 40 people on scholarship or 35 people on scholarship, there would always be 2 black girls and 1 black guy every season.
right.
And I didn't take that for granted, but I didn't live on that because you still have to prove every day
Yeah,
when you walk in that you
exactly.
belong there. And that's dancing as a whole every day. It's
Yeah,
not a team sport. And so, but that set the foundation for me to be able to say, this is what I want my career to look like. And then my knees gave out, right? And I had to have surgery on both of them at the same time.
yeah,
And I still had to say, what do I want my career to look like? Because it's not over. I don't care what the doctors say. And
right,
so I pivoted and ended up doing more theater shows. And when I decided to go to Vegas, everyone said, you're too short and too black to ever work in Vegas. And I did not work for 3 months. And on that third month, I got 3 jobs in one day.
right.
And so I had options. And so I just continued to build and then being in Europe and performing in Europe and then going to Japan and owning the first male review show. It sounds great, but I had death threats, because
Yeah.
people thought I was changing the culture. And I had spent 2 years studying the culture while I was there performing because this
Hmm.
idea was in the back of my head. And I knew when I had the opportunity to tell someone about my idea, I was going to take it. I knew
Right.
how much I wanted to charge, the color of the theater where I would audition dancers, like this whole thing. And did I think it would ever come to life? Had no
Hmm.
idea. Fast forward, coming back to America, producing for television. Everyone told me I needed a communications degree. So much for that. I produced for television without that communications degree. Macy's coming to you all. Everyone told me not to take the job with FUBU. And when I tell you everyone,
Yeah.
I mean everyone. White, black, purple, green. They're a trend. They are hood and ghetto. Don't go over there. You're making the biggest mistake of your career.
And
And
now
all
look
I
at him,
saw,
legendary.
those same people ask me for jobs later. That's the funny part. Those same people will come and ask me for jobs. You know, what I
Yeah.
saw, why I took it, is because you all reminded me of me when I was in Japan. And when the opportunity was there to tell someone exactly what we wanted. Remember, I asked you all, what do you want? And I
Hmm.
remember you and I were the two that was working, setting up the event. And I would be,
Hmm.
Keith, do you have a videotape that you could play? Nope, I'll get it. Do you have blow-ups? Nope, I'll get it. No matter what I asked for, you all were right there. And I saw that you were committed to,
Yeah.
for me in my head, build a brand. For you all, you knew you were going to do something.
Yeah.
And it was just, it hadn't been there yet, but it was just, I didn't know you all had just made the deal though. You tricked
Yeah,
me on
yeah,
that
yeah.
part. I
We
thought that
we
deal
we
with
was
Samsung
fresh
had
out the
been
deal.
done.
I didn't, you know what it was? We had so I'm gonna go back a little bit. When we before we got the deal, we were doing everything. So we was doing everything from shipping to folding to packing to sewing to cutting to whatever it was to delivering the goods. So when we first got to the Empire State Building, we was so hands-on, we didn't know how to let go, right? So we're there and it's like, oh, well, you don't need to do delivery no more. We got to take care of the shipping department, take care of that. And you don't need to box anything. You don't need, you guys just need to do what you do. So we got to doing what we do, but we didn't have the whole team together, So, and honestly, we were new, so I didn't, I wasn't hip to public. I knew what a publicist was, but I didn't know how they worked. The inner, we were brand new to that industry. So when we were able to sit down with you and I remember one day, and I talk about this with my wife. I said one day Leslie came to me and she gave me copies of all the things that we were doing and the magazines we were in and all that stuff. And I was like, Leslie, why you giving me these copies? She's like, one day you're gonna need them. Just hold on to them. You're gonna need them, and it'll tell you a whole story. And I got like two big folders of of
Me
of of
too.
all these clippings and stuff that you put out. So I just, certain things that you did for us, we weren't thinking about. And you educated us a lot. I remember us going over to France and I'm not a cheese and cracker guy, No, I'm not a crepe. What is it, a crepe or whatever you call it? I didn't eat this
We're having
stuff.
crepes.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't eat this stuff. So, we get over there and you're like, hey, you have to have some cheese and here's some crackers. And I'm like, Leslie, what is this? And I liked it. Like it was,
Mhm.
it was different, but I liked it. And now I'm home. I'm like, oh, you have to eat this cheese with these crackers. I'm telling other people. So, it's
Right.
just a lot of things that we did. We went to Africa together. That was a
Mhm.
beautiful thing. I was first time in Africa, got to spend it with you and Jay and
Met
Damon's
Nelson
mother.
Mandela. And
Yeah,
yeah,
Nelson
look, we met
Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. Like there were so many firsts that we created together. And you know that there's a list somewhere, and I wish I had it, but I
I'll
think
send
it's
it to you.
3 pages.
I got it. I'll
Please,
send it
it's
to you.
3 pages of FUBU first.
Yep.
First company to ever receive the Essence, certain keys to the city, those things. That was
First
what I
company
wanted to do.
to register trademark the number '05,
A
and
number,
it
yes.
was
Like
it
there
was
were
a
so
lot of
many.
firsts.
So someone has to be the first, and that's what my book is about. But because you all were the first, and I've been the first in many rooms, you
Hmm.
just can't leave it there. You have to
Hmm.
build something. And when you're building it, you're just building. But then when
Right.
you get into a position at some point, you need to be able to turn around and say, have I left a roadmap? It's not the roadmap that everyone should follow, but a
Hmm.
roadmap that people can use as a guideline. So when
Yeah.
they're in these rooms, when they're in these places, when they have these opportunities, they can realize that there's something bigger than them. Listen, when I came, I remember the story of my dance teacher saying she had to get dressed in the closet. She had to change because that's where the other parents didn't want her changing in the dressing room
Right.
with the other dancers. I didn't have
Hmm.
to do that. I fought for brown and black wigs. I had one of the old dancers that danced with me crying this weekend because we found a picture and I was in a red wig and she's a white girl and she was in a black wig. And she was like, why didn't we change? Why didn't I say? Because we knew what we knew at that time,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
But I made it a precedence to say you always have to have black and brown wigs. If you're going to have black dancers, if you're going to have brown dancers, you've got to have this. I look at dancers now, they don't even think about brown and black wigs. They're fighting for tights and point shoes of skin tone color. And that's what
Hmm.
it's supposed to be. Build for the next generation to keep building. That's what my
Yeah.
book is really about.
Yeah. And I know I try to do that. I try to pass on um my gifts and my experiences to others because you got a lot of people who are gatekeepers who won't let you in, won't tell you about anything. And I always felt like, how are you supposed to grow if you're unable to 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 tell people, how other people are able to grow if you don't tell other people, what's going on. Like you know you have to give back, and a lot of people, I don't know if they're scared to give back or they don't want nobody
Well,
to
they're
steal
not
a
secure.
spot. I don't know.
They're
Yeah,
not,
right.
that's it. They're not secure in their spot because if you're secure in your spot and your talents and your gifts and all of that, then you're not worried about somebody else coming in. If anything, you should have set it up so someone else can come in, you know?
Right.
And so my whole thing is if I've done all of this, if we've done all of this and we take it with us, then we've actually done nothing.
Yeah, you have to give back. And that's, with me, I'm teaching now. I told you the other night when I saw you, I'm teaching now. And for me, it's a way of, I'm always speaking to kids or going to these colleges or schools or whatever and talking to these kids. But since I got my doctorate, I was like, well, how many other ways can I contribute to the youth? Because I think the youth is our future and we need to educate them and make sure we set them up properly. So, when I started teaching, I was like, wow, this is different. This is challenging, but it's different and I love it. So, um and I know you were able to teach us, so many valuable things over the years. It was almost like when you left, it was like, no, Leslie, don't go. You was like, I gotta go. I've done my work here. You guys are good. And then you came back.
Yeah.
Then you came back and you worked with us again a little bit,
Yeah.
you know. So that was
I need
special. Like,
I always said when I feel that I've done what I could really do is when I would leave. Now we all know I quit many times in between. That's a given. But that that 10-year mark, I felt I could not give you all anything else. I felt
right.
that the way the market was turning, it wasn't only PR, but remember I was handling the marketing, the advertising, the PR,
Hmm.
all of that, that it was time for someone else new to come in, that
Hmm.
I owed it to you all to give you another breath.
Right.
And that it was also time I owed it to myself to continue being a bit more creative in the things that I wanted to do. And yes, I left on Friday, and that Monday I was back closing a deal with you all. And so we've always been connected. I always laugh. I'm like, did I leave? And I think we will always be connected because that era, that
Yeah,
time, those lessons, what we built, not only for ourselves, but for our industry,
yeah,
for our culture, for our country, realistically,
yeah.
that was a
We laid it
special
down.
time.
We laid it down. I'm glad you were there to take that journey with us because um people always ask me, you do you think it would be another FUBU? And I always say possibly, but I don't think so. And the reason I say I don't think so is because of the times. Now kids are they're on you for like 3 months and then they want something new. They don't even they're not even gonna go, and for us it was like, we went decades of doing things. Like, people we're around 30, this is our 34th year. So we're around decades. You don't get to be around like that anymore because these kids it's almost like fast fashion, right? They're on you for 3 to 6 months and then it's like, oh, I was wearing that 6 months ago, I'm on to the next thing. So how could there
Right.
ever be another FUBU if you don't have that customer loyalty? You understand what I'm saying? So
Well, it's
that's
not
what I
only
always say.
customer loyalty, we also expanded.
Yeah,
We had men's, we had ladies, we had look pajamas, we had suits, we had
yeah.
linen, home goods, we had ties, shirts, boys, little girl. There was a full
Babies.
baby. We had a full watches. I mean, we had everything. We had a full spectrum of a brand, and I still wear mine. And I don't believe licensing and licensing deals are set the structured the same way to help to build brands that way any
Right.
longer either. To keep it moving and to allow your consumer that was hot on a sweatshirt be hot on the pajamas or be hot, and so you keep them. It's rare that you have brands that come out and actually can expand that way now. It's the economy, it's the way licenses are structured. It is that brand loyalty. So maybe, but not, I don't see it in the near
Yeah,
future.
I just don't see it, and like you said, the system is not built like that anymore.
Right.
Um, but let's pivot a little bit because you are one of the most creative people I know personally. Right. I was telling the missus that I said Leslie went into a room that had nothing on the walls. It was a blank room. She was in that room for about a day or two, and the room turned into a whole jungle. You wouldn't even thought the room looked like it looked prior to her getting in there. But then you also took a trip down the boxing lane. I remember going to what was that, Gleason's gym, or what gym was that we
Oh,
went?
Mendez Boxing.
Okay,
Mendez
yeah,
Boxing.
Mendez boxing. We all came out to support you and see you and you wasn't 20 years old, 15, when people really start boxing, you were 40 years old and you
Yeah.
started boxing. And you were tough. Like I'll give it to you. You wasn't playing around. It wasn't a hobby for you. It was more of a job for you because you walked in there and you put it down. We were proud. We were like, wow, Leslie's taking this serious. Because we thought you was gonna just go in there and be BSing around and then we turn around and I think did you win the championship or something? You were holding up a
Yep.
belt
Here's
or
my belt.
oh
Here's
my
my belt
God,
behind.
like, it's crazy. So, but tell us about that journey. Why would you at 40 years old want to start boxing?
I loved boxing as an art form. Like I
Hmm.
would always watch, and I don't think anyone really knew how much of a boxing fan I was. And
Right,
that on weekends I would sit and just watch boxing, old tapes and the pivots, and just it's an art for me.
right.
And we had worked with Muhammad Ali, we had worked with Lennox Lewis, we had worked with so many amazing boxers. And I
Hmm.
kept saying, you know what? I should try it. It's something different. What's the worst that can happen? I don't like it. I'm still a fan, right? So I passed Jim coming back from a meeting, and had the PR girls. I'll never forget. I walked in. I was like, "Find me a gym." And Kat was around us at that time. And everyone's like, "Oh Lord, right, whatever." And end up going to Mendez Boxing, handing them my credit card and like my 3-inch heels, all dressed for the office. And they laughed and said, "That woman's never coming back." Not only did I come back, I pretty much never left them either. I started with 3 days a week. I don't want to be a girl in the gym. I want to learn technique. And it went from that to the owner, Francisco Mendez, saying to me, "Wow, I wish I had you at 15, like with your mouth and your spirit." And he goes, "And because you dance, you pick up really quickly." I loved it. And yeah, I'm all in. I went all in, and
Yeah,
when I
that,
retired, which was, I won the belt and retired, I got my boxing coaching license
yeah.
after that, and I was
You
helping.
just you just touch so many different, and I was listening to the interview the other night, as a chaplain, as a boxer, as a founder of the Cavu
The
group,
Kava
that's how you
group.
say, Cavu
Yes.
group, um, you know, working with us and putting on that hat, and you wore so many hats. And it's funny because even now when I step out and I do things, um, I try to wear many hats as well. Like, I don't want to be known just for FUBU. I want to, give back to the kids. I want to be a great speaker. I'm working on being an author right now. So, I kind of see where you went with it and how you pivoted and because, when you pivot, and I know for me, just coming out of I used to think that FUBU was my brand, right? And I used to be like, oh, I don't need to do a branding. That's keep her from FUBU. But
Right.
as I stepped away and started doing my own things, I realized that it wasn't my brand. It was a brand I was associated with, but it wasn't my personal brand. And as I started developing my personal brand, I was like, wow, this is dope. I've never done, I've never, oh shit, I've never done this, like what's going on here? Like, it's crazy. Um,
And, and it's great because you know what? Like Fubu was a brand, it was the four of you, and each of you had your own personality, and everybody will tell you that, you know?
uh-huh.
And I even played on that. All four of you had different personalities, and I would pitch as a whole. And near the end, remember, I came to each of you. I said, "What do you want to do when this is over?" And y'all kind of poo-pooed me for a bit. I'm like, "What do you want to do while I'm here? Let's start working on that." And if you
Hmm.
recall, at that point, you were like, "I want to start acting." And I picked up the phone call, and you were in a movie, and you got your SAT card, and you were doing those things.
Yeah, I
But I
remember
think
that.
it does take some time to say that Fubu, like even with me, Fubu's part of me. It's not going anywhere. I'm
Yeah,
very proud of it, but it's a piece of my story to continue to build on. And it
all
gives
right.
me a foundation for some people that can relate to that, some people that
Hmm.
want to know more about it, but it doesn't define who I am.
Yeah.
And
See,
even though you're one
I
of the
didn't see that
owners,
earlier, because I thought in my mind at that time that was all I had. That was me,
I spoiled you
being
all.
yeah, yeah. But as I'm working on myself and taking my personal journey and just doing things on my own now, um, it's kind of exhilarating because I do get the love from being a FUBU, one of the FUBU guys, but they also see that I'm trying to carve out a new path for myself. So they're the people that I'm working with are excited to help me and help me push this rock down the road. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to being an author as well. I'll let you know. I'll call you for some advice. I think you gave me some advice already the other night about it. So I gotta
Absolutely.
make those calls. Anything else you wanna talk about in your book?
I mean,
And
it's really about also, you hit it, Keith, you just hit it, transferable skills. Because
hmm
sometimes we get stuck on our titles or where we are or what we owned or what we accomplished before. and don't realize that we have a lot of skills that can transfer over to something else. And so
Right.
when everyone says, "Oh, you wear so many hats," for me, I didn't see it as wearing so many hats. I saw it as being able to taking pieces of myself and putting them together in different ways. And those
Hmm.
pieces, those skills came along with it. So I hope
Yeah.
when people read it, I hope they read it. I hope they give it to whether it's someone young or someone trying to make a transition or someone just enjoys a story of someone's life and it's
Hmm.
not over. This is just the beginning of me sharing this part of my life and looking forward to continuing,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
I know for me, I was like, what the hell am I going to do at 55 years old? Like, but
Yeah,
I'm going down, this journey, I'm like, okay, I want to write a book. And, I just shot a documentary about a year ago. I didn't put it out yet, but I shot a documentary, a mini documentary. The teaching thing that I'm doing, I'm working on that. Um,
I love
and just building my personal brand, and it feels good. I just started working for a sports agency, so just trying to transition a little bit and take some of those skills and the experience I garnered over these years with FUBU and take it to other places. Like you said, expand in other spaces. Just try to
this.
work it out that way. You know. Um, so, but the event the other night was a Stockholm blast. I'm glad we and wifey was able to attend. Um, and also too, are you ever coming back to work with us?
Uh, make me an offer. Look, make me an offer. You know, I consult now. You all can definitely be one of my clients again. It'll be in a different sense.
Nah, it's
You
I
know,
was I ran into I told you I ran into Charles Klein at the event. And I was
yes.
telling him how I said, we should do TV shows, and we had early, we had to be on 6:30 in the morning or 7 in the morning. We would be somewhere flying or whatever, and Leslie would call each one of us. If it was at 6:30, she would call us at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'd be like, okay, Leslie, all right, I'm up. And I hang up the phone. It's 5:05, that phone would ring back. She'd be like this, yo, you get up? I'd be like, yeah, yeah. No, come on now, get up. No. And it was
Because I knew
aggravating at
your
first,
voice.
but after a while, you just got conditioned to it. And like I said earlier, it made people respect us in a way that they never would have if we would have been rolling in there late, or one of us late, or we were always on time, all four of us on the
And ready
ball,
to go.
and
Yes.
ready to go.
You all
Yep.
were and that made me proud. And that because that's what it should be. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be like, oh, look, they did show up. No, they are here. And that's why I would get phone calls. Hey, can we
Hmm.
shoot with them? Can they filming? Are you going to be there? It got to the point where people were calling me asking were you all going to be there because they knew they could count on that sound bite on you all being there and being present. And when people didn't act right, I had no problem checking them into a space where they needed to be aware that they needed
I
to
was getting
respect
ready to
you
say
all.
Eve wasn't the only bulldog in the skirt. Boy,
You
you was
know,
tough as nails, Les. People used to come to me all the time and be like, "Yo, did you did you help us get it? Because I went to Leslie, boy, and Leslie." I was like, "Well, you got to go through Leslie. If you need to do something, she's the person. I'll talk to her, but you got to go talk to Leslie." Oh man, so many people were afraid to talk to you because they knew they was
but I
like, if they
respect
come
what
with the
you all do.
BS, yeah, but if they came with the BS, it wasn't gonna fly with you. So I appreciate it. But
Good.
I thank you, Les, from the bottom of my heart. It was great seeing you the other night. I wish you well on this book, and
Yeah.
as soon as I read it, I'll hit you and I'll let you know what I think about it. I already know it's going to be great, but um,
But I appreciate
but if
that.
there's any
For
other
those that
things you
don't know,
wanna promote while we on here.
I want to say May 5th is the release date. You can find it at the Barnes and Nobles or Amazon or wherever you get your books from, including independent bookstores. Always support that. And, I hope you read it, like it, leave a review. And you warmed my heart, you and Michelle, when I saw you walk in. So thank you for all these years of support as well. I do
We there.
appreciate we are family. We are famo, as I said,
Famo.
famo. And so thank you. And I hope everyone, has a chance to read. Someone has to be the first.
All right. Well, listen, another great episode of Keyzo's Corner with the talented, the creative, the lovely Leslie Short. Thank you, Les, for coming up and pulling up on me right now. And
Thanks,
that's
peace.
it. Another episode in the can. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.